When people think about space, they imagine a lot of life. Billions of stars, countless planets, too many chances for life to happen only once. This idea is not emotional. It comes from numbers. When something has enough time and enough attempts, it usually repeats. Rare things stop being rare when the scale is big enough. And the universe is very big. Because of that, we expect company. Not neighbors, not visitors, just signs that someone else existed. Traces, leftovers, mistakes. We expect ruins or patterns or changes that nature alone would not make. This expectation is reasonable. We use the same thinking in history, in biology, and in archaeology. When something keeps happening over long periods of time, it leaves marks. It doesn't erase itself completely. Time is everywhere in space. So is opportunity. If intelligence can happen, it should have happened more than once. This belief shaped how we searched. We didn't look for messages, we looked for signs, energy use, repeating patterns, strange changes, anything that suggested purpose. The basic needs for life are not rare. Energy is common. Chemistry is common. Planets are common. These are not guesses anymore. We have seen them, measured them. The ingredients are everywhere. None of this points to isolation. To be alone would require coincidence. Many failures, all repeating the same way across the entire universe. That is hard to accept, and yet, when we look outward, we don't see history. No layers of past activity, no overlap, no signs of succession. Nothing that says something was here before. No abandoned structures, no altered regions, just empty space behaving as expected. The same result again and again. Distance and quiet. Not the quiet of nothing happening, the quiet of nothing standing out. This silence is not from lack of effort. We have been listening for a long time. The search has been careful, repeated, more sensitive every year. Tools improved, limits dropped. Things that were once invisible should now be obvious. Large activity, would not stay hidden. Careless activity would leak. If something obvious were out there, we should have seen it by now. So this silence is not ignorance, it is the result of looking closely. Signals do appear sometimes, but they never hold up. They fade, or break apart, or turn out to be noise. Nothing stays clear, nothing stays certain, and that difference matters. A common answer to the silence is timing, the idea that we arrived too soon, that intelligent life is rare, that it takes a long time to appear, and that civilizations don't last long enough to overlap. At first, this sounds reasonable. It keeps the universe full, just not yet. But this explanation has problems. The universe is not young. Stars formed billions of years before our own. Many planets are far older than Earth. Some had a head start of millions, even billions of years. If intelligence can appear naturally, it should have appeared earlier somewhere. It wouldn't need to be common. It wouldn't need to be close. Just early enough to leave a mark. One early civilization would be enough, not to fill the galaxy, just to change something noticeable. Growth doesn't need to be fast to matter. Even slow progress, given enough time, adds up. A single step forward every 1,000 years still covers a lot of ground over millions of years. Over that kind of time, hiding becomes difficult, and yet we see no signs of early movers. This weakens the idea that we are simply early. Another explanation says civilizations don't last, that intelligence destroys itself. War, collapse, accidents. The problem shifts, not from creation, but survival. This would mean intelligence is common, but stability is not. That every civilization reaches the same breaking point, over and over, in different places, under different conditions. That's a strong claim. It requires the same failure to repeat everywhere, at roughly the same stage. That kind of consistency usually points to something deeper, something not cultural, not emotional, something structural. The silence is not scattered, it is even. It doesn't depend on distance or age or location. Old regions are quiet, young regions are quiet, dense regions are quiet. That sameness matters. When results don't vary, chance becomes less likely. Uniform silence suggests a shared reason. Not a mistake, not bad luck, a condition. At this point, the question changes. It is no longer, why don't we see anyone? It becomes, why would no one ever be visible? That difference is important, because being unseen is not the same as not existing. Silence can happen by accident, or it can be chosen. And only one of those lasts this long. Intelligence changes its surroundings. This is not opinion. We see it everywhere. Even simple tools leave marks. Even small systems create waste. Life can be quiet. Intelligence usually isn't. When thinking beings act with purpose, they move energy around. They reshape matter. They leave patterns behind. One civilization would be enough to leave signs. Not messages, not greetings, just results. Using energy always leaves traces. Heat, movement, structure. Even trying to hide uses energy, and energy always leaks. Over long periods of time, small leaks add up. A million years is not much in space. 10 million is nothing. A billion is more than enough. Over that kind of time, perfect hiding becomes unrealistic. And yet, we don't see the signs. Not partly, not sometimes, consistently. Large projects would change stars and system. Not violently, predictably. Regular shapes, unusual brightness, patterns that nature doesn't normally make. These changes wouldn't need explanation. They would stand out on their own. We don't see them, not nearby, not far away, not in old regions, where time should have made them obvious. This leaves two options. Either such projects are impossible or they are avoided. Growth doesn't require conquest, it only requires copying. Even slow expansion becomes noticeable over time. One probe every century still spreads far over millions of years. One settlement every 1,000 years still leaves a trail. Over long time scales, space would show gradients, transitional zones, subtle changes. None of these are seen. That absence matters. It suggests restraint applied almost everywhere. At this point, the explanations narrow. Either intelligence almost never lasts, or its long-term behavior becomes similar. Similar behavior means selection, not natural selection, strategic selection. Ways of acting that survive consequences. Being loud has consequences. Being obvious has consequences. Over time, those approaches disappear. What remains is quiet. The silence may not be failure, it may be the end result, the form that lasts. At some point, silence stops being strange. It starts to feel intentional, not planned, not coordinated, but shaped by outcomes. In any risky environment, behavior gets filtered. Actions that draw attention invite response, and response is never fully predictable. Being seen is not always an advantage, especially when you don't know who might be watching. In that kind of environment, staying quiet makes sense, not because of fear, because of caution. Watching is not passive. To observe is to interact, to scan, to measure, to listen. All of it leaves traces. Even curiosity has a footprint. Even listening sends something outward. This changes how we see the silence. Maybe no one is gone. Maybe no one wants to stand out. Silence may not mean absence. It may mean restraint. We often assume being noticed is good, that contact is something to hope for. But this idea comes from us. It's cultural, not universal. In unknown conditions, signaling first is a risk, and the risk is uneven. If the other side is stronger, you can't undo that choice. If they are weaker, the gain is small. The balance doesn't favor speaking. Maybe civilizations don't vanish. Maybe they settle toward low visibility, toward minimal impact, toward inward focus. Growth might stop, not because it failed, but because it wasn't worth the cost. Communication might stop, not because it's impossible, but because it's unnecessary. What remains is hard to see. Systems that blend in, that don't reshape space, that don't leave signatures. In this view, the universe isn't silent. It's careful. The lack of signals doesn't mean no one is listening. It means listeners who learned patience. The silence isn't waiting to be broken. It might be a boundary, or a lesson, or simply the natural result of intelligence that lasted long enough to understand the risk. We keep asking why no one speaks. Maybe the better question is why anyone ever would. Because in a universe this old, maybe the quiet isn't emptiness. Maybe it's what survived.